Terwijl een verouderend en steeds armer Europa een ondoordringbaar fort wordt, opent grootmacht China zijn grenzen. Het gevolg: jonge Afrikaanse migranten verleggen de koers naar China. Volgens experts ontstaat zo een nieuwe economische wereldorde waarbij het Westen het nakijken heeft. Met catastrofale gevolgen voor onze welvaart. Dit is wat u te wachten staat.
You can make $5,000 in a week or 2 weeks. Depends.
God bless me here. God bless me. I believe that this land of China is a promised land to me.
Why is Europe unable to understand that the world we live in is a totally different world? That the future of the world more and more won't be decided in the West.
In fact, I predict that in 2030 Europe will be saying desperately, we want more Africans.
Dit is Tegenlicht. Welkom in een nieuwe economische wereldorde. Guangzhou, een stad van 15 miljoen inwoners, is vanaf haar ontstaan de grootste aanjager van de Chinese economie. Sinds begin deze eeuw zien we hier een gestaag groeiende stroom Afrikaanse immigranten. Velen van hen hebben over de hele wereld rondgezworven en zoeken nu hun geluk in China. Daarmee vormen ze de voorhoede van een verandering in de balans van de wereldeconomie, met verstrekkende gevolgen voor het Westen. Tegenlicht ging daarom op bezoek in Nigeria Town, Guangzhou. Inmiddels thuishaven voor ruim 250.000 Afrikanen.
I have been to many countries. This is not my first place I have been. I have been to France. I have been to Vietnam. I have been to South Korea. I have been to Hong Kong. I have been to Macau. I have been to Singapore. My own view, China is leading. China is number 1 in the world now. Right now, as far as this world is concerned, China is leading.
I was traveling to Portugal, I was traveling to Brazil, but I was checking in the clothes. I see that most of them is coming from China, made in China. I say, how? But I'm in Brazil, so must come made in Brazil. So I said, okay, what I'm going to do in Europe and they're everything doing in China, so it's better to come straight to China.
Why I came to Guangzhou is because of the weather condition here is not too cold like other cities in China. And here I can be able to meet so many Nigerians from my tribe, Igbos. And we can have a collective or sort of do joint business together. Because one man alone cannot be able to stand on his own. So when I got here, before coming here, I contacted a friend who had been here before me. He told me the kind of things they do in China, how to do it. So I was able to make up some money with the help of relatives to be here, to start a business, to earn a living.
When I was in Nigeria, I don't have a family, I don't have a wife, I don't have a child. And then I'm looking for the money. It's not easy to be found. After I got my visa to come down to China, I was surprised. I started a business with $100. Only $100. Starting before I could know it's almost $20,000. On doing that, I've got a house in Nigeria now. And I've got a wife and 2 kids, and we're expecting the 3rd one very soon. So God bless me here. God bless me. I believe that this land of China is a promised land to me.
Migrants are the really smart people in society. They're the people who are explorers, who are innovators, who are risk takers.
Ian Goldin, van origine Zuid-Afrikaan, was ooit economisch adviseur van Nelson Mandela en vicepresident van de Wereldbank. Tegenwoordig is hij hoogleraar globalisering en ontwikkeling aan de Universiteit van Oxford. Hij is ook directeur van de Oxford Martin School. Een denktank gericht op de grote problemen van de toekomst.
The Chinese, of course, have been all over Africa. I'm sure the Nigerians and others have been meeting Chinese coming there, talking about it. They realize if people come from somewhere with investment, they must have income, they must have opportunity. But they also know that they do things differently and that so Africans can contribute. So clearly, Chinese investment in Africa will help Africans make a bridge to go back to China. And Chinese interest. There's also, in some parts of Africa, like Tanzania, Mozambique, there's a political connection. The Chinese were extremely supportive of the fight against apartheid, of the liberation movements in Africa. Many Africans studied in China, including the leadership of many political movements in Africa. So there's sort of a romantic attachment and political attachment to that. These people helped us, we know it. You know, I've met many Africans that can speak Mandarin, for example, been trained there, doctors and nurses in Africa that have been trained. So it's not virgin territory. There are relations which go back a long way, and those provide a bridge. The main thing I would say is migrants are entrepreneurs. I mean, they are looking for opportunity. They're survival strategists.
Right now, China is leading. Their economy is booming. Do you know, I saw somebody from Madagascar in China. You can imagine, if you check the map of Africa, you can see where is Madagascar. Down, it is a little island. I'm surprised they are here. I have met a Libyan man being in China, which is impossible for a Libyan man or a Libyan person to be in China. But they are here. Why? Because their economy is booming.
I just sent her here today. I had 1 year past Abraham, so I wouldn't have gotten it. What I go there, what I go send go there here. Go get air condition and car with multicolor. Then I will say I can choose where another 10 pieces again. And then goes at 10.
Chinese culture is quite different from Nigerian culture or even somebody from Europe. But because we are here in their country, there's nothing he can do. You have to join the chorus. There's nothing he can do. Whether their culture is good or bad, I don't focus my mind on that. What I focus is what they will produce for me or the business I have with them. That's my main thing. That is it. That is it.
Yeah, but talking about that. On the way. Container, you got to 7 days. I'm not going to get it. But I'm why I like 10 days. You got to get one shoe from the band in Nigeria. I'm a young boy, but I can't wait.
Mobile phone accessories like the pads, the IC, the screen, earphones. You know, you can use to listen to the MP3. Also, I trade on motor parts, brake pads, repair kits for Toyota, Nissan, and Mercedes-Benz.
And then when I contraband, if you will go like you had watch motor parts, you want to go. So you use a can short wire out. So I have a human and one much credit, and I have a in next 10 days.
DVD pads, DVD machine pads, TV pads, and so on.
You would have na Lagos. Okay, I'm going to see you. Yeah, God bless you. Yeah, bye-bye.
Very clearly, China as a project to become, if not the main, at least a major world player. And in order to achieve this position, it needs to access whatever resources are necessary to build up its military, economic, or to a lesser extent, cultural power. And Africa holds a strategic role in that China's process of rising to power.
Akile Mbembe is filosoof en politicoloog, gepromoveerd aan de Sorbonne Universiteit in Parijs en tegenwoordig hoogleraar in Zuid-Afrika. Hij is de auteur van het standaardwerk On the Post-Colony over de nieuwe relatie tussen Europa en Afrika.
The Chinese have shown that outside of the West, they have the best expertise in terms of how to get out of poverty. The West does have a lot of expertise in terms of how to get out of poverty in the West. I'm not sure that that expertise can be exported wholesale elsewhere. In any case, since the years of colonialism, we haven't seen it produce any major effect. So there is something in the Chinese model that speaks to us, and that it needs to be explored carefully in terms of how to create a better life for people.
My customers, they are most from east part of Africa. They are coming to China for business. So for me, I will help them to get what they need and with better price, with better service, so that they can make their business in their country have more good chance for the market. Now Africa is a developing country. They still like maybe like China 30 years ago. Why African come to China is because the visa is very easy. That means Africans, they are very important to China.
喂，你好，我想问一下，你现在这个美金兑换率今天多少？6.31，对，不是6.33吗？It's 6.31. 6.31.
No, 25 boxes. 25 times 80. 2,000 pieces.
I think the most important misunderstanding about migration is that it's somehow other people, that we're not all migrants, and that the whole world has established itself. Our civilizations, the great places like Amsterdam, are the result of migration. This has always been historically the fact. In fact, we have lower levels of migration now than at many times in history as a share of our populations. And we have more control now. Coming into Europe is much more controlled than 100 years ago when passports barely existed. So passports are a very new phenomena. The second big myth, I think, is that migrants take more than they give from society. All the evidence shows that migrants and migration contribute much more than they take, on average. And this is both for skilled and unskilled migrants. It's true in simply economic terms, so what they contribute to the economy in indirect or direct taxes, in economic production of goods and services, and also what they take in terms of maybe social security is lower than their aggregate contributions. But more importantly, if one goes from the static period to the dynamic, then one sees that migrants are the source of economic dynamism. And all the great leaps in economic progress have resulted from migrants coming. And we see this most acutely in Silicon Valley. You know, half of the Silicon Valley startups, all the great iconic firms we can think of, the Googles, the Yahoos, Apples, are the result of very recent migrations. Half the patents in the US. And if you think of people in the arts, Academy Award winners, Nobel Prize winners in academia, the share of these people in relation to migration is 3, 4, 5 times what you would expect from just the distribution in the population of migrants. So we know these people contribute ideas, they contribute investment, they contribute innovation, and we know our societies would be much more static and not as sustainable in terms of growth without them. So that's the second great myth, I think, that they take rather than give, and they're somehow bad for us as opposed to good for us.
The first challenge is language and word differences. Not easy when you go to a foreign country or a new place. Yeah, through the help of my friend and the Chinese friends I were able to have them, I put in more effort to learn the language. But it's very important for me to communicate. What's on there? That's it. I didn't see what. That's a white girl. I found like a samba. Okay, that can come. That's it. I didn't see what. You know me.
Oh, 你好。
Long time, no see you.
Okay.
刚才那个大的，我有那个酒店名字的，我现在不会到那个穿那个，所以说你可以教我，要你帮我。我们不会穿那个时候，我们有学了那个酒店的民宿。
你这是单色双色的？
对，到 VPRO Hotel， so 我们。没有穿过，不会穿了，不会发东西里面。哦，对，不会发东西，不会发东西。
第一就用那个你电脑有个。
对，那个我让你教我那个，我不会，我什么都不会，我什么都不会，真的。
这个数据线对吧？一个数据线，然后连接到你的显示屏。
啊，那个发电了。说那个窗里面，
对，
发电哪里？里面那个电这边呢？
电脑后面有这个窗口来的。
没有说明书，没有说明书。
I think the third great myth is that basically, we're going to be overwhelmed by poor people coming from the rest of the world that will threaten our way of life. There is a lot of evidence now that the poorest people can't migrate. Or when they do migrate, they go to a local village, and then from the local village to the local town or city. They don't have the money. I mean, they're lucky if they can pay for a bus or get on the back of a truck to go to the local town. So the poorest people don't migrate.
Yeah, just yesterday I arrived. Have a seat. Bonjour. Thank you very much. Have a seat. Thank you. Some water? Oh yes. Okay.
The differences are so many. The way Chinese think from the way Nigerians think. And especially this black color. When they see you, they feel, I got some students, sometimes they will come to you and say, oh, why are you so black? Why? You don't take your bath? I say, oh no, I take my bath every time. Sometimes some Chinese will come to you and take your hand and they really want to see you if this thing will peel off. Do you understand? It's a very big challenge, But it's really not a problem to me because I know I am who I am. Of course, I'm an African, and God created me like this.
So, can you show me which ones are the 100% human hair?
This one.
In my country,
they can easily recognize which one is a 100% woman hair and which one is not a 100%.
My products is about beauty. Women, they are like beauty in this world, especially Africans. Yeah, so special because of nature here, they can grow like a straight of so long. So they need to find some ways make the hair to be better, so they can change, look like more beautiful.
Like when I came through Beijing. That's the first place I landed. And when I landed in Beijing, Chinese people were looking at me. I can just say during that time, they have never seen a lot of blacks. Maybe they see blacks in the TV, through NBA, and so on and so forth. So during that time, there is black people, but not too many of them. You understand me? So from there, I took a train to Guangzhou and stayed with my brother. Right now, it's not like before. Now, many Chinese people have knew that black exists. It's not like before. So they cooperate with blacks now. Most of the Africans, they marry Chinese, and so on and so forth.
So I really don't think I can stay in China for so long, settle down here, you know. One, I can never get married to a Chinese. Do you understand? If I can get married to a Chinese, then I can say, okay, I can stay in China for a long time, maybe 20 years, 30 years, when I get a husband here. But I don't think I can. So in that area, no.
Right now, I'm not planning to go back to Nigeria. So I think the best way is to bring my wife here because she misses me a lot. Every time, whenever I call her, she complains a lot. Daddy, I miss you. He left me back home. I'm crying, this and that, you know. So I think it's the best thing is to bring my wife here because it's good to live with your wife so that they can plan future. I mean, because of the children. It's not going to be difficult if I have the money. You know, see, if I have the money, getting the passport, Nigerian passport, then I go to the embassy and apply with the invitation letter. It's not hard. If you follow the procedure, they will give you the visa.
My last trip to China was 2 years ago. I was going to Shanghai. I went to the Chinese consulate in Johannesburg, and being granted a visa was the easiest thing I have ever seen. I was completely astonished. I got a visa in one day. I filled the form, a one-page form. They didn't want to know who was my father, who was my mother, almost nothing about where I was born. They hardly asked me whether I had any money. They wanted to know whether I wanted to pay 600 rands, in which case I would have had the visa exactly the same day. Or whether I wanted to pay 300 and then it would take maybe 2 days. That was it. So the conditions of access are not the same in Europe, of course. Europe has become, as we all know, a fortress. It's living under the illusion that you can have a community without strangers. It is inhabited in its very soul by a strong desire for apartheid, separateness. All of that is known. It doesn't seem to me that in relation to China it's the same situation. So, of course, migratory circuits in Africa have been more or less completely reoriented. They are moving towards the east, people coming here, and less people going to Europe, in spite of the hysteria about African immigration in Europe.
Going to Europe or United States, their procedure, I mean, things you will bring, the documents you will bring is so difficult. It's so difficult. It's not easy. But in China, immediately you get your passport. Like when we came, it's with your passport and invitation letter. But now, if you bring your passport, even if you don't want to go direct to the embassy, if you meet any Nigerian agent and agree with the money, you accepted the money between both of you, you will just get the visa. So it's quite easy. And you know, in Europe or USA, you cannot give an agent the documents. You have to apply face to face. But in China, in Chinese embassy, it's not like that. You can go by yourself. You can give an agent to apply for you.
No rice.
None of rice.
Yeah, farm, yeah.
I want to go to the
No, that's right.
I don't believe it. Monsa.
Oh, farm, I know.
No, no, farm. I had it. The farm guy. Maybe no.
No, make we better as often up and down.
I have my house and I would know very back. That's so much as I believe me here. Come on, walk with Bando was not going and I'm not going to every name is okay. I used to not on them. If any none level, insurance something from my phone. Catfish. Good drinks, original one. I'll say Chorije will be the image Africa. Yeah. The African image. Hello? When we are going to Europe, we start countering the problem of visa. For you to get visa, you know, it takes a long time. Then, and when it's taking long time, your business cannot be okay. Then we start looking at another country. We start going to Japan. Then when the Japan visa start also very difficult to get, we move to Taiwan. Then from Taiwan to Hong Kong, from Hong Kong to China.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
When you send goods to Nigeria, from the money they raise that place, you tell them to send so amount to my mother. At times I send goods, I tell them take 100,000 because if you take $1,000 here to send to Nigeria, it doesn't make sense because you can buy a goods which you can realize profit of you can buy a goods of $1,000 which can have a profit of $300 on it. So when you send the goods, from that $300, and your mind is to give your mother $100, you add it with that $300, it's $400 you give to that woman. But if you send $1,000, you don't have any profit.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
You can make $5,000 in a week or 2 weeks. Depends on the business contact or connection that comes your way then, that time. Maybe you have a customer who is sourcing for an item. You want to buy a container of it, containers of the goods, maybe 1 or 2 containers. It depends on the business that comes your way. A month you can make $10,000. You can make $3,000. Even within a week, even 2 weeks, depends. It's not accurate or specific that you must make this certain amount of money. So that you can say within a month you cannot get up to $1,000. It depends. Not exactly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Every day, the local Nigerian traders resident in China here, not the cash going through bank, but the cash going through airport, day by hand. You understand? Because people need cash every day. And people moving goods to Africa every day. You understand? By air. So you need cash every day by air. You need move your goods every day by air to Africa. You understand? Steady business. You understand? But if there is any blockage that the cash cannot move, then the product cannot move. You understand? So every day, let's say Nigerian citizen, we are moving 20 to 30 millions by cash.
I predict that in 2030 Europe will be saying desperately, we want more Africans. We're going to need them to push us elderly people around in our wheelchairs and to do many things, because the labor force in Europe is contracting dramatically. So the demography matters a lot. Dependency ratios, which is the ratio of elderly people and young people under working age to the working population, are changing dramatically around the world. And they're two real drivers of this change. The one is that people are living longer and longer. The other trend is collapsing fertility. Lots of elderly people, very much fewer younger people, and the middle group having to pay the taxes and earn the income for these big, heavy dependents at the top. So the dependency ratio is increasing dramatically everywhere. The mean average age of people is increasing dramatically everywhere. There are societies, particularly the North African societies, which have been going through the Arab Spring, where average age is something like 21 or 22. But in Europe, it's rapidly going over 30, and in Japan, it's going over 35, 40 average. And it's heading up over the 40s for average age of society. This changes a lot of things. It has important implications for migration. Africa is going through a slower transition. It is going through the same transition, but it's lagging behind. That means that there will be lots of Africans coming into the workforce. It will be the biggest workforce in the world. It's already overtaken Europe. It'll overtake China in about 15 years' time, and India. In Europe, we're going to have a big problem. Now remember that because there's so few young people or middle-aged people relative to older people, the elderly will dominate politics. Okay? They will dominate the voting. So they will make sure that they look after themselves in terms of trying to maintain pensions and social security, etc. But we won't be able to afford it, because the other thing that's happening is that the financial markets have collapsed, and with it our savings. So the idea that when these things were constructed, they were constructed with an expectation of average returns on the savings of maybe 5% risk-free rail. That seems like a dreamland now. So there's no way. Average risk-free returns now maybe 1% if we're lucky. That means you have to work a lot more in order to have the same amount of saving to live on. The numbers suggest that the OECD, that's the rich country workforce, if we assume entry and exit at about the same levels as now, when people come into the labor force and when they leave it, about the same as now, goes down from about 800 million to about 600 million people over the next 35 years. It's a dramatic decline in working age population, just driven by demography. And that means a number of things. One is we'll need more migrants. But even if migrants were 10 times the current level, it still wouldn't compensate for this gap in the labor market. China has managed this better because it has a mass migration out of the countryside. Its migration has been internal. So it's a huge country, and it's releasing perhaps the biggest migration in human history of people over the last 30 years from the countryside. 500 million people maybe. So this release of people from the countryside has been the source of migration. There's still maybe another 100 million to go or something like that, but the numbers are declining rapidly. When that is exhausted, then China increasingly will be drawing on the rest of the world. So I believe in the future there will be real competition for scarce labor. So a war on the talent, but not only the talented, also the untalented, will be really searching.
How is today now?
we hope today will be okay.
Glory be to God.
We just started.
We are just going to open it. That we still have faith of God.
Yes, we have faith.
And what of you? Have you opened your shop?
Yes, look at my shop here. It's open. It's open. Yeah, today God will bless us today.
Yeah. God was yours too.
Yes. So, I see a song.
They're okay. They are just passing like it.
Yes. Thank God. Thank God.
Why is Europe unable to understand that the world we live in is a totally different world? That the future of the world more and more won't be decided in the West. That the center of the world has been displaced. It's somewhere else. Why is it that Europe is having difficulties coming to terms with that? There are numerous explanations. The embrace by the West and some other non-Western countries of the doctrine of globalization, of the free flow of goods, most of the times at the expense of the free flow of people, has a number of consequences, one of them being the fact that our world is more and more divided between those who can move and those who cannot move or can only do so under ever more drastic conditions. A phenomenon that in turn leads to the militarization of boundaries and the fact that borders have become somewhat understood more and more, not only in police terms but also as war zones, where war against foreigners is conducted. And all of this is translated into new norms, juridical norms, which contradict fundamentally the democratic ideals Western countries pretend to be premised upon.
The most interesting thought experiment on free migration is Europe. Okay. And, it's the only place in the world which has taken away border controls of a large number of economies. And what's amazing about it is how well it's worked, how few Europeans move inside Europe. In the economic crisis in Southern Europe now, Spain has 50% youth unemployment. How many Spaniards are there looking for a job on the streets of Amsterdam? Very few. How many Greeks are there? Very few. So one of the things that we've learned through the economic crisis and through Europe is A, when you take down borders, you don't get mass migration. And B, it's very determined by the need on the economy, not the supply. It's a very strange thing for an economist who started up learning the works of John Stuart Mill and Adam Smith and these people, because when you read these people that many of the neoclassical, more liberal economists now regard as their high priests, they talk absolutely about free movement of labor as being essential for their concepts of economic freedom. That distinction comes much later. And it's really at the time of the First World War when passports become systematized. So it's a recent phenomena, and it's getting worse, not better. And the technologies, in some respects, are making it worse. So retina scans, fingerprints, it's getting harder and harder to be in a society illegally. So economics has moved to a situation where many of the liberal economists, including great liberal politicians in Britain, in Europe, in the US, push for more and more free market in trades of goods and services and capital, but tighter and tighter controls over labor. There's no economic explanation for this whatsoever. Okay, this is just bad economics.
the time of Europe and America, we only getting things between government. You understand? But individually, we don't. But China today, you can be in China doing business, doing very well. Maybe you can have a contract with a Chinese factory or a Chinese company to go back to Africa and invest. You understand? So there is quite different.
Hello? Victor, yeah? Tony speaking. It's what I'm on. I'm not going to say, because one in Kina, quick on Kina, meme. Yeah, the container, and there are about 4 containers. A container 4, I know. Come on, King Magangwa here. In motor. Come on, can meme. No, so no, send the man, ego, Jamie, and more, meme. Or to I can maybe I want what I hear, Messi, and make him business. What fatter, no one of them, why along the I have back than why I've been them. I will see teacher. I need it. On to the email. What's in beer? 10 million. Yeah, last time he said he opened them about 10 million.
There's a simple solution to it, of course, which is lowering the border controls and increasing the attractiveness. Also, there's many things we could do to support migration which would make it better. For example, little things like making pensions portable. So you work somewhere, when you stop working, you can take your pension home with you. Encourages you to go home and enjoy it. There are lots of British people living in the south of Spain, enjoying British pensions. They couldn't do that if they go to some, Africans can't do that when they go home. So creating things like that, which encourage people to go home and just be there when they're working, are important. There's all sorts of issues regarding multiple entry visas. Many people, once they come in, and this is a great problem in terms of undocumented workers, they come in, they overstay their visa or they start working, and then they never leave because they fear if they go to the airport or a port, they'll be arrested, they'll never be allowed in again. So they don't leave. So they're trapped, and this is a big issue. 11 million people in the US undocumented. It's big numbers. And I think making migrants feel that they can be regularized, come and go, easier.
And the decoration has to be the same uniform.
Yes.
You understand?
Understand, sir.
So that it will not be different design or different color. Mm-hmm. It has to be one color. Uh-huh. To have a beautiful
design outlook.
Yeah.
Okay. In Joy Kitchen, have the restaurant in that kitchen joy in that border. Have one restaurant. That cooker is very nice. The cooker is very nice. It's a good man.
Is it Chinese?
It's Chinese. If you one person share, I don't know how to say. If the one person, hold that money, that's a cost of many problems. So when the money you profit share, and everybody be happy, and then the booming and booming, continue.
But the only thing is that the Chinese, like money more than anything.
No. The stage is being set for a new map of the world, in which we have on the one hand the West, which is basically a dormant, complacent and nostalgic society, worried about what it used to be and not knowing very much anything about where it wants to go. And yes, I would say dynamic regions of the world, China, of course, India, of course, Brazil, Africa, for that matter, soon more than 1 billion people, people in motion, the emergence of new societies.
Europe's in a terrible crisis now. It's in a crisis of survival of the euro. It's in a crisis of politics, short-termism, and it's clearly got to overcome its short-term issues of debt, unemployment, etc. In that environment, it's very difficult for people to think strategically about issues like migration. When people feel a crisis or become unemployed, they naturally become more conservative. They become nationalistic. They become protectionist. They become xenophobic. They blame their problems on the other, the outsider. This is something we've always done as humans. It's not we created the problem. It's they created it. The best solution is to keep them out. Then our problems will be solved. Whether it's people or whether it's other things, goods and services, investments, etc. And we see this in Europe a lot now. I think this would be terribly self-destructive. It's short-termism. And in the medium term, everyone is the loser. But it's understandable as a political process. So my hope is that Europe transitions out of this crisis quickly. I don't think we can expect much better policies on migration during the crisis. But my hope is that we will transition out of it, that we will learn from the crisis, that actually people didn't come from Southern Europe when they were free to come, that migration isn't the threat we think it is.
I have been to France. I have been to Vietnam.
We start going to Japan.
I was traveling to Portugal. I was traveling to Brazil.
I have been to South Korea.
We moved to Taiwan.
I have been to Hong Kong. I have been to Macau.
Then from Taiwan to Hong Kong.
I have been to Singapore.
From Hong Kong to China, you see.
Thank you for watching. For more on this subject, take a look at the playlist. You can also watch this recommended video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and we'll keep you updated on our documentaries.